Whew, man, we are really overdue for this one, aren't we? There are a lot of albums I just didn't get the chance to cover for one reason or another this year, so in the tradition of any Ketchup Quickie, let's spend some time talking about some of the ones I missed. If the album you want to see isn't in this episode, though, don't freak out on me, okay? I do plan on doing at least one more of these before the year is out, and if you let me know what album you'd like to see, then maybe it'll end up in one of the upcoming Ketchup episodes. Cool? Alright, we got a lot of ground to cover, so let's not waste any more time. You know, ever since I mentioned these guys in my Rathau Eubate video, I've gotten a lot of requests to review their latest album, The Most Lamentable Tragedy, and having spun it a few times, I can certainly see why. It's an excellent piece of indie punk magic, which I kinda hate to admit, the snarky asshole in me is just a wee bit disappointed at that. I mean, if it were crap, I could say something like, "Most Lamentable Tragedy, sure is." No, Patrick Stickles and crew have really delivered big with this release, and given the fact that it's a punk rock concept album, clocking in at over 90 minutes, that is no small feat. The album is a jarring and erratic piece of noisy, caustic rock, with a narrative focused on Stickles' own battles with manic depression. I've known a lot of people with manic depression over the years, and was even misdiagnosed as bipolar in high school. Yeah, believe me, that was fun to deal with. And from my experience, I can say from a thematic perspective, Stickles hit the nail on the head. The album shifts from peaks and valleys of varying degrees of intensity in a truly brilliant reflection of what it's like living with a mood and temperament you can't fully control. It's an album of reflection, an album of unfiltered introspection, and it's an album that can be downright soul-crushing in moments. Though yeah, if that one catches you off guard, it's pretty much your own damn fault. But it's a flexible, vivid, and strikingly intense piece of modern punk. Dare I call it soul punk? I don't know, I'm still working that one out. It does feel its run length after a little while, but given that it's literally feature length and still really, really solid, I'm willing to be flexible in this case. This is long, but worth the trip. The Most Lamentable Tragedy gets 4.5 manias out of 5 depressions. Okay, given that I gave these guys an honorable mention in my top 10 new metal bands episode, I'll bet a lot of you were thinking this would be on my most anticipated list for the year. Well, slow your roll there, partner. While I do like a lot of this band's earlier output, the Fingers haven't been operating up to 11 for quite some time now. I made a little quip about them versus you versus me in that episode being jarring, but if I'm being honest, it wasn't bad. It was really pretty good for what it was, but Life Turns Electric was really just more of that same kind of mood, and that style really started getting boring quickly. And while I can say that 5 Crooked Lines isn't more of the same, I can't say that things have gotten any less boring. If anything, we've upped the ante here. Ugh. This thing is kind of a mess. Everything feels strangely muted and subdued on this album, particularly the drums and percussion. I mean, say what you want to about the last 2 albums, they at least had a very punchy and forceful rhythm to them, especially TVYVM. God, why does that acronym sound like something you'd enter into a Pornhub search? But for this album, longtime drummer Rich Bedeau left the group, and Man drummer Chris Powell stepped in for the studio recordings. And man, does it ever fucking show. Powell's drums are slow and monotonous. The guitars have no flair in the arrangement. Scott Anderson is barely raising his voice, and
oh dear, I seem to have fallen asleep.
The last 2 albums, whatever you thought of them, at least had energy. For this album, it feels like Finger Bang You Into My Life were trying to channel their self-titled era past while still trying to retain their squeaky clean, more radio-friendly present, but instead it just mixed what was wrong with their past into what's currently wrong with them. It's the worst of both worlds, and I hate to say it, but yeah, this is easily the worst Finger 11 album. I'd seriously rather be listening to Rainbow Butt Monkeys. It's a shame. 5 Crooked Lines is only worth 2 Crooked Lines out of 5. Hey, since we're on the cool bands from the past disappointing in the present train, let's continue on with Gang of Four! Choo, choo. Ugh, I'm sorry, I hate to sound so negative, but come on, who didn't see this one coming? Apart from, well, me I suppose. Gang of Four, for those of you unfamiliar, were an 80s minimalist post-punk group that made some of the best dance punk ever created. No joke, Entertainment is one of my favorite albums of all time. Go listen to it if you haven't, and their comeback album, or I should say their most recent comeback album, was really, really solid. It gave us a reason to think that these guys still had some spark left in them. But the entertainment seems to be completely drained out of these guys, and what we're left with is far from solid gold. See, longtime vocalist John King left the group shortly after Content, so Andy Gill went ahead and hired John Sterry to replace him on vocals. And I'm sorry, but he is so not the right guy for the job here. He just sounds like he's doing a bad Brandon Flowers impression. And while I do love the Killers, I don't like the Killers mixed with my Gang of Four. It isn't a good fit. Even if it sounds like it'd be good on paper, it doesn't work. I like Strongbow and I also like Cocoa Krispies, but that doesn't mean the two should mix. Unless it's possibly for a hangover cure, but that doesn't count. But it's not like Sterry's even given much to work with here. The music on this album is gloomy. Like, insanely gloomy, especially for a freaking Gang of Four record? What the hell? Jesus, this is like a 9 Inch Nails and Bauhaus record got together and watched Requiem for a Dream immediately after a full playthrough of Silent Hill 2's worst possible ending. What the shit made them want to go in this direction? For a band that used to be so bouncy, up-tempo, and sharp. This album shares a problem with Five Crooked Lines in that it had all the energy and fun just sucked out of it. But where Finger 11 at least had a gloomier past to help justify the shift, to hear something like this from Gang of Four just blows my fucking mind. Seriously, listen to Entertainment and then give this album a spin right afterwards. You will literally feel your brain melt. All I can say is, what happens next? I hope to God nothing. What happens next gets one original founding member out of 4. I mean 5. You guys get the idea. Okay, enough negativity. Now back to super happy, positive, sunshine, yay, fun times, flowers, rainbows, hooray! Punk rock. Let's talk about a band that laid dormant for an insanely long time and actually did their big comeback right. Namely, Refused. Holy shit, guys, this album is so legit. Freedom picks up pretty much where Shape of Punk to Come left off. It's a ferocious, passionate, and intelligent piece of punk that rips skin off sinew and flesh off bone. It really is quite a shame the Shape of Punk to Come took 17 years to take shape, but this album has more or less everything I look for in a good, intense piece of rock. It has a feral, biting attitude, a no-holds-barred style of wit to it. One listen to Dawkins Christ will convince you of that. Guitar arrangements that screech and shred in chaotic blissfulness, and a vocal delivery from Dennis Lixon? Holy Christ, I am sorry, Sweden, if I'm mispronouncing that one. That's gravelly and melodious at the same time. It's an album that can open with a metallic shred, switch over to a doom and gloom stomper track, and switch over again to a ska horn-tinged bright and poppy track without missing a beat or feeling schizophrenic. The finesse on these guys has always been one of their biggest strong suits, and believe me, they haven't lost their touch. It's artsy without being pretentious, thrashy without being insubstantial, experimental while remaining accessible. Man, guys, I love it when the hardest part of my job is actually finding something wrong with an album. My only warning, I guess, is that if Refused was a band you just never got into, for whatever bizarre reason, then I guess this album might not convince you otherwise. I mean, people who just like their punk to be simple and straightforward will probably run away from this album screaming. But hey, it's their loss. This album is intense, charismatic, and an absolute joy to take in. Serious album of the year contender here, people. Freedom gets 5 brutes out of 5.
You know, okay, I'll concede. I get that Refused might be a bit much for some punkers to digest. Especially if you're the type that would, how can I put this? Consider a band like Fall Out Boy to be retro. So with that in mind, let me meet you pop punkers halfway here. Sleeping with Sirens. I admittedly wasn't familiar with these guys, but through your requests, I decided to give Madness a spin, and I'll be damned if I didn't have a lot of fun with it. This band definitely understands how to create a bouncy, fun pop-punk song. The first two tracks, Kick Me and Go Go Go, are really jumpy and adrenaline-fueled. I mean, hell, this is pretty much the mantra my girlfriend has adopted to get me out of bed in the morning, so trust me, I can relate. And they aren't half bad when it comes to slower, more ballady tracks, too. It's the kind of stuff that teenagers would definitely hold their lighters up for. If you were, old enough to actually purchase the lighter. And if lighters were something that anyone used anymore, holy shit, I'm starting to feel old again. It's a fun, buoyant, pretty well-paced piece of punk-flavored pop. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to. Though the album isn't without its drawbacks. The deluxe edition is almost 50 minutes long, and while if you love this band, that's certainly not going to be a drawback, if I'm being completely honest, I was a little worn out by track fucking 15. Also, has the squeaky animals modulation I've been using for this review gotten on your nerves yet? If so, then you need to stay far away from this album, because Calvin Quinn's voice is really, really
Okay, you get my point. See, Quinn is a leggero tenor. For people that aren't familiar with vocal types, let me explain. Take your average tenor, then kick him in the nuts 14 times and inject helium directly into his lungs, Pulp Fiction style, and you've got your leggeros. Some people are just not going to be able to get past this guy's voice. But if you can get down with a super high register and it doesn't bother you, then this album is totally worth a spin. It's solid despite some of its drawbacks. Though admittedly some of those drawbacks are definitely going to steer some people far away. I say it's worth at least one listen.
Madness gets 4 chipmunks out of 5.
Here's another band that I got a ton of requests for. Well, okay, maybe more like 2 or 3, but the people who did request this one were very passionate about it, so I figured I'd give it a spin. I stumbled across these Aussies in my various travels, but never got the chance to get terribly intimate with them. And coming from the mostly outsider looking in's perspective, I can say that Currents is a damn good place for the uninitiated to start. Like, damn, this thing is an absolute trip. The bright, twangy synths and vivacious drums make for an intensely hypnotic experience. This is an album that, if you relax, breathe deep, and lie back, will absolutely hypnotize you with its melodies. I guess it's a good thing they didn't slip in subliminal messages or anything. I mean, I can see where you guys are clamoring about. This thing is mesmerizing. It's haunting. I can't remember the last time I felt such an amazing, trippy feeling from an album. The only feeling I could possibly equate it with is having your first exposure to Radiohead be something like Kid A. It's equal parts soothing, yet still somewhat disquieting. In fact, some of these tracks almost sound like they were lifted from a Hotline Miami game, with their emphasis on pulsing beats and sparkling clean synth work. It's relaxing, but it makes me feel like I should be caving people's skulls in while wearing a horse mask. Are you guys sure they didn't slip subliminal messages on this thing? I guess the Radiohead comparison is also fairly apt, because apparently most of their back catalog is more guitar heavy, and I've heard some of their more hard-nosed fans are kind of up in arms about this, but I mean, in my particular case, from my unique perspective, ignorance is bliss. I absolutely love this album. I sincerely hope they keep building upon this direction too. I loved it. Seriously, guys, keep the currents flowing. Currents gets 4.5 cryptic answering machine messages out of 5. So, I'll admit that maybe reviewing an EP, especially when I'm a guy that pretty much sticks exclusively to LPs, from a very small Irish garage rock quartet that is still trying to make their name, isn't exactly fair, but I'm writing this review to you guys as a warning. I stumbled across this in the Spotify new releases back in around March, and these guys have announced that they're going to release a full album on September 25th. And I wanted to warn you. To warn you that if the album they release next month sounds anything like this EP, then... how can I put this? FUCKING BURN EVERYTHING! Holy fucking shit, this is a piece of garbage. Exhibit A. Why they hide their bodies under my garage. Has this gotten annoying yet? Because it goes on exactly like this, unchanging, for 8 fucking minutes. Exhibit B. Every fucking song sounds exactly like this. Their lead singer is shrieking way too far out of key. Like, he's not even in the same area code as the key he's supposed to be in. He makes Jack White look like Freddie fucking Mercury. And I get it, a garage rock band is supposed to have a degree of this. It's expected. But this isn't Julian Casablancas. It's a donkey being castrated with a hammer. Exhibit C. The bass is mixed so loud and fuzzy. I usually like a loud, present bass, but this bass is so fucking obnoxiously ever-present, it drowns out almost every other instrument. Hell, it drowns out the guitar nearly completely. Exhibit D. They're called girl band and they have no girls in their band. Fuck you. I mean, look, guys, I get it. They're trying to make a garage rocky, abrasive kind of sound. But there's abrasive, and then there's cleaning out your ears with a fucking SOS pad. This EP can be perfectly summed up in one word. Pretentious. That's why I'm issuing this as a warning. You guys might have some hipster friend or some snotty record store clerk try to tell you that, oh, this is the next big thing, man. You don't even know. Don't believe them. Don't subject yourselves to this. If you like garage rock, pick up the new VOCs or the new Vaccines. There's good stuff still floating around, but oh my god, for the love of everything holy and sacred, avoid this thing like the plague. The early years gets one body under my garage out of 5. I wrestled a bear once. Motherfucker stole my picnic basket! You son of a bitch! Smarter than D's average. No!
Start again.
I wrestled a bear once. Now here's a girl band worth actually investing some time into. These guys, though, are quite polarizing in the metal world, admittedly. On one hand, they're phenomenal at creating beautifully dissident songs that dabble in mathcore madness and catchy metalcore sensibilities. And they have one of the best female death growlers in metal today. One of the best death growlers, period. I mean, fuck the gender labels. But on the other hand, they have music videos that look like this. And they have a tendency to name their songs things like Thunder Chunky, Karate Nipples, Tastes Like Kevin Bacon, and my personal favorite, Fire Bees! Ah! So I think some people have a hard time taking them seriously, but here's the thing, regardless of what you think of their image, the music is seriously legit. And I especially loved their last album, Late for Nothing. No joke, songs like Thunder Chunky, Inside Job, and Boat Paddle. Oh god, seriously, these song titles, they may have a small point, were outstanding in their unhinged attitude, masterful complexity, and the rich and fluid sense of melody that these songs possessed. It was really good stuff. The whether you thought their old image was quirky and unique or fucking bananas, don't expect to see too much of it here on Hail Mary. And while that kind of upsets me a little, I can understand why some people would consider this a very good thing. I think a great deal of their fan base is going to be happy to see them heading back into a more straightforward, mathcore-y direction. They're getting more in touch with their roots on this album. I personally am a little disappointed, though, that they didn't continue on from Late for Nothing. I really enjoyed that album. But please don't get me wrong here. Hail Mary is still very good. It has lots of ferociousness and intensity to help make up for the lack of a more cohesive melody. And I mean, the amazingly complex riffs and beats they create is the stuff of a Guitar Hero masterclass. If you're into mathcore of the heaviest kind, definitely pick this one up. It's a thick, robust, bursting at the seams album, and even though I would have liked to have seen more color and melody prepackaged with that intensity, I mean, I'm happy with what we got here. I'd still say I'm satisfied. Hail Mary gets 4 bear huggers.
I like raw fish.
Out of 5. Oh yeah, you better believe I got a lot of requests for this one. Now, I would love to say that I was a true Britpop OG, down with Blur since Leisure, and had every single lyric of Park Life memorized and tattooed across my back, but that would make me a dirty, rotten liar. I was actually one of the people that was super late to the Blur train. Later than most Americans, in fact. I dug Song 2 and Coffee and TV growing up, but wasn't interested in them much beyond that. I didn't really dig into their back catalog much until after college. I don't know what to tell you guys. Go ahead and make fun, I guess. Oasis just got to me first. But hey, it was my loss, because Blur is fucking awesome. I mean, they pretty much always were, and I said pretty much always were. And the Magic Whip continues their legacy brilliantly. Hell, given all the other things Albarn keeps himself busy with these days, I'm shocked we got a new Blur album at all. Inspired mostly from a 5-day layover in Hong Kong, the music has a very alien feel to it. It gives off the vibe of being strangers stuck in a strange land attempting to connect with their environment. The album is very atmospheric and pretty, while still retaining Blur's signature blazing guitar work and luminescently poppy synths. It's a joyous album that maintains a slight feeling of disconnect, an album that captures a certain naivete and awe, and it makes for an infectious listen. Though, I will admit it isn't the most energetic album they've ever released, per se. I mean, if the only thing you know about Blur is Song 2, like a certain someone did in high school, then this album might be a little, easy on the brakes for you. I mean, the album lacks a bit of a punch compared to some of their other previous works, but I mean, it makes up for that in the sheer brilliance and elegance of its sound. It's a beautiful, ethereal album that no Blur hardcore should be without, regardless of Britpop OG status. The Magic Whip gets 4 ice cream men out of 5. Nope. I mean, guys, even when I was into new metal and post-grunge, I really did not think too much of these guys. And with even 3 Days Grace loyalists shaking their head at this album, I mean, what prayer does it have under my eye? Seriously. I always do like to give bands a fair shake, especially when they go through a dramatic shift like bringing in a new vocalist. Hell, I even gave Saliva a chance, for God's sake, but whoa, man. This thing is boring. Matt Walst brings absolutely nothing new to the table as a frontman, and well, every problem that 3 Days Grace suffered from is really only magnified tenfold now. Every hook is generic, every lyric is uninteresting and bland, every beat is meandering and directionless. How many ways can I tell you this album is boring, guys? It's boring. I guess I can say that it isn't quite as nu metal whiny as some of their earlier releases. I mean, let's be real, some of their earlier releases were really bad in that regard. But hell, that's been the case since their last couple of albums, so even that fact is boring. I'm trying to think of good things to say about this album, guys, I really am. I guess if it has one thing going for it, it's that it isn't offensively bad or detestable bad, but, well, you know what that means. It isn't even so bad it's good, or so bad it's interesting, or so bad it gives us something to talk about. It's just even more boring. Given that I'm not into 3 Days Grace, I will admit, maybe I'm just not the right guy to be reviewing this album. That's fair enough. But guys, critics don't like this album, regular Joes don't like this album, and if even the in-betweeny guys like me don't like this album, I mean, that's gotta be a pretty bad sign, really. Whatever my opinion may be worth, leave this human being. Human gets 2 Danish physicists out of 5. Oh god, a new All That Remains? Really? Ugh, this probably isn't gonna end well. Bite my tongue, bite my tongue. Criticism and self-realization. No, I'm not reciting song titles from the album. I'm trying to compose myself so that I don't fly off the rails over this fuck heap. Seriously, what in the bloody rotten hell happened to these guys? They used to be a really solid metalcore band. Hell, I'll still spend Fall of Ideals and Overcome from time to time. They're good records. These guys may not have been the most amazing band out there, but they were at least respectable. How far they've fallen since those early days, my god. For the past few albums, these guys have been trying to be as top 40 as they possibly can, and my god is it throwing a giant dick into the gear shift here. Phil Labonte just wants to be on Billboard so bad that it itches in his scruffy little vagina, and as a result of this, all of the band's character and originality has slowly, painfully been sucked dry over the years, and things have really come to a head on this album. For one thing, Labonte was always fairly generous with his use of autotune, even back in the day. But my god, on this album, I swear he's become more autotune than man. He's like the lamest cyborg ever. It's depressing. I mean, the same guy that gave us the face-melting opening shriek of 6. Can now barely even bother to hoarsen his voice for one heavier verse. I mean, this stuff isn't screaming, it's barely smoker's cough. For 2, I just love how the lazy-ass drums plunk and plod away at a tempo that would barely register for a pop song. Oh, but they'll occasionally lay in the fakest sounding double bass kick just out of nowhere, just to remind us that, oh yeah, we're technically still a metal band, holy shit. Phil, let's get real for a sec. Somewhere along the line, you stopped being a musician and became nothing more than a soundbite. And seeing shit like this come from someone who I know is capable of making good music is beyond disappointing. You have to stop this, Phil. For fuck's sake, stop this bullshit. Stop this pandering, stop being such a goddamn crybaby, and be a musician again. Now! Like right now! Now is the moment that everything can change. You are completely responsible for your own life, and no one is coming to save you from yourself. So stop blaming your problems on any and everything else. It does not matter one tiny fucking bit how unfair you think the world is. It's only what you do right here, right now, right this fucking instant that matters. It's your choice to sink or swim. Order of things gets 1 delusion pandemic out of 5. You know, I have to come clean here. That last bit wasn't actually my own words. I'm quoting someone. Would you like to know who I'm quoting? Well... Lamb of fucking God. Holy shit, this has been their year, hasn't it? And given all the turmoil they've been through over the past few years, I'd say they've come back to us with a dignity, grace, and honesty that we have come to always expect from one of the world's greatest metal bands. Seriously, this thing fucking rules. Sturm and Drang is easily their most cohesive album in years. Not a drop of filler is present, and every single riff, beat, and lyric feels pertinent, necessary, and polished to a ridiculously high sheen. And to top it all off, it's an insanely multifaceted record, covering a broad spectrum of philosophies and ideas in an intelligent, thoughtful, and insightful manner. I mean, these guys could have easily just wrote 10 songs about Randy's prison experience. They do still touch on that topic with songs like 512 and Still Echoes, but it isn't the dominant theme of the album, and it shows how crazy hard these guys are willing to work to go above and beyond and give us a unique experience. They explore many other very pertinent topics in today's society and offer an astute and vicious commentary on the modern world and how we've come to develop as a species. Songs like Delusion Pandemic is 1 quintillion times more in-depth than true cult metal ever fucking will be. Seriously, Phil, you had better be taking notes. And the music on this album perfectly matches the intensity of the lyrics, willing to shred and slice like a guillotine on tracks like Iwrestledabearonce and Footprints, while also experimenting and mixing things up with more contemplative moments on tracks like Embers, Torches, and the glorious Delusion Pandemic. Lamb of God again shows us that they're a band of proficiency, a band of boldness, a band of bravery, honesty, passion, significance, and Labonte, you seriously had better be taking notes. Like, if I can be real with you guys, Sturm and Drang is going to be insanely difficult to beat for Album of the Year. The album's overall themes illustrate that the ability to overcome lies in our hands. We can do it. We have the ability. But we have to want to do it. We have to be willing, we have to be capable, we have to kick and scream and shout and rip and tear and kick ass and chew bubblegum and take names and fuck shit up. But at the same time, be wise, be empathetic, and maintain our humanity in the process. And it isn't an easy balance, it's a precarious task, but it's one we all have to attempt. In a world that sinks, yes, even you have the ability to swim. Sturm and Drang gets 5 storms out of 5 stresses.